Hi, I'm Kenny Anderson, Director of Multicultural Affairs for the City of Huntsville, and welcome to Impact. It's my pleasure to be able to bring information to you about various things that are happening in our community. And of course, today we hope that you will enjoy all the great information that we have to share. A little while back, we showed you a show that talked about an organization called TEDxHuntsville, which is part of the larger international group TEDx. And this group is a local group that is trying to connect with people in lots of interesting and creative ways to be able to spread ideas that are just simply worth sharing. And today we have those individuals back with us today. First of all, Everett Alexander is the founder of TEDxHuntsville. Welcome back to Impact.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here once again. You know, you had such great information the last time. We said we got to do a part 2 on this thing. So thanks for taking the time to do that.
Thank you.
Chris Gattis is joining us once again also. Chris assists with marketing for TEDx and does lots of other cool things in the community on a regular basis. Get to see him in a lot of great events, so I guess great minds are thinking alike.
There you go.
Good to have you, Chris.
Thank you very much.
You know, we were really in our last segment on TEDxHuntsville talking a lot about the event that comes up every year, TEDxHuntsville, but TEDxHuntsville is more than just that one event, which is a very big event. But you guys are really branching out into the community in some interesting ways, because I know I've gone to a number of events and seen you all there. And of course, I'm tagged with you guys on Facebook, so I see a lot of things happening. And I wanted to talk a little bit about those things, because oftentimes when we present information about organizations, there are people listening who think, that's something I might be interested in being a part of, but I'm not quite sure how to do that. For example, somebody might have heard our last broadcast and thought, well, I'm not really a public speaker, but boy, it sounds really cool to be more than just an attendee at an event. And so I wanted to give people a much broader understanding of what's happening with the organization and give them a chance to connect today as well. So that's kind of where we're going with this.
Sure.
First of all, though, I do want to once again emphasize that the TEDxHuntsville event is an annual event that takes place around in the fall. Just before the fall, actually. But it's a big event that attracts people to Randolph School, as you've done that in the past few years, and gives them a chance to present these ideas to a live audience. And that's one of the hallmark events of TEDxHuntsville.
That's correct. Yeah, we really have an opportunity to create this platform and allow speakers, presenters, musicians, poets to come under one roof and really have a great day of collaboration, sharing ideas, and just getting people inspired and motivated to think outside the box and to hear different ideas.
Yeah. You know, if you leave a TEDx event and you're not inspired, you must be dead.
That's probably,
probably
the case.
Check your pulse on the way out, because, I mean, there's no set format in terms of what one might expect to hear. You know, it can range from, maybe traveling down the Nile River or the Amazon, and it could end up being something dealing with somebody's research on a particular subject, and then it could be some aspect of housekeeping or gardening, or it could, it's just all kinds of ideas. And the creativity and the potential that exists as a result of TEDx, I think, is phenomenal. Because I'm a big reader first and foremost, and so I'm always curious about stuff. I want to learn things. I'm a lifelong learner. I don't have to be enrolled in a class to be committed to learning something new every day, multiple times a day. And so I'm a big proponent of TEDx, knowing that somebody might say one more thing that will spark me or excite me or engage me in something that I've been thinking about or wondering about. And that's the passion behind TEDx. So I'm just glad to be able to talk about this once again today.
Yeah, it is. I'm a learner too. I always try to learn something new. I'm like you. I'm reading books all the time. I'm studying articles and what the leaders in my profession are doing, so I can learn new techniques. And I think that's the kind of folks that you typically draw to a TEDx event. Those are the kind of folks who call us up or email us and say, I want to volunteer. Is there any way I can play with you guys? Because you look like you're having so much fun. And we are. We have a ball. It's a lot of, we do this not because we're getting paid well. We do this because we love it, because it's exciting and interesting, and it fills a void in our need to understand things and learn things. And so that's the kind of people that usually want to hang out with us, and we welcome more of you.
Yeah. I'm really glad you said that, because that's exactly what I think about when I think about TEDx. I think about a sandbox, and I think about these kids that are out there who haven't been told what they can't do. They're just out there on this particular day to have a good time, and it doesn't matter who's out there. You know, they're just out there engaged with one another, having a great time, imagining the possibilities of life. And that's exactly, to me, what TEDx presents, an opportunity to just play with life, and understand that there's so many different opportunities that we sometimes live within the boundaries of our life experience, paralyzed from fear, paralyzed by the unknown, the uncertainty of things, paralyzed by past failures and memories. But TEDx really challenges people to go beyond that comfort zone, and go beyond the status quo perhaps, and go beyond the idea of holding on to something in your mind for years and years and years and not releasing it and letting it go. And it's kind of a safe place to play, and a safe place to explore and ask the question of what if. And I love it.
Yeah, and we try to create that throughout the year, that safe place. Our main event usually does take place in the fall, but we will have additional events that will lead up to that. So we'll do what's called a salon event, which may be 1 or 2 speakers, and we'll show TED Talks and have an open discussion. Much shorter format, much easier format for us, but definitely still inspiring. Those are usually theme-driven or specifically for different subjects, so we can talk about maybe urban development, or we can talk about education, or maybe we could talk about studies of bicycling in downtown, that type of development. So there's different opportunities for us to kind of hone in on subjects in that regard. Also, we do our live stream events, which the actual TED conference being held in Vancouver now, we have access to 1 full day for free as organizers to show to the public for free. And those are usually the treasured moments that we have to access TED. You usually, when you watch a TED Talk, it is an edited version. So this feed is actually raw and uncut, and you get to see the behind the scenes and the prep, and as speakers come out, and if they mess up or anything happens, you get the full reel of that. So that's always kind of a treat to watch.
Yeah.
And so we showcase those throughout the year.
Yeah, and I think that's a great experience also, because people can kind of come and get an idea what that whole process is about, and be exposed to some really, really interesting people in the world who have thoughts and ideas about things. I think about one of my favorite people, Carl Armstrong, who is the founder of the Charter for Compassion, who launched that initiative based on a TED Talk. And she won $100,000 to be able to put her idea to work. And she started this notion, what if people were just kind to one another? What if people just treated one another like they wanted to be treated? Sounds like the golden rule.
Right.
A very simple notion, but what if I just challenge people in their daily living to be more conscientious about that, to be more responsive to the needs of people around them, to be even more aware of those needs as people experience them. And from that, she's launched an international campaign where we have now well over 175 cities that are trying to become identified as compassionate cities. Of course, Huntsville has the distinction of being named a compassionate city through this Charter for Compassion, but all of that came out of a TED Talk. And one of the most important things she said, and I want to really emphasize this piece, is she said a compassionate city is not a city that's worked out all its difficulties and challenges. She said a compassionate city is a city that does have challenges, where you have people who are willing to stand up and rise to the challenges that they face. Doesn't mean they've got everything fixed and figured out and worked out and everybody has a kumbaya moment and everybody's getting along well. No, it's recognizing that there are challenges in life and saying that we have a population of people who are committed to making an impact on other people's lives. So this is the kind of power of a TED Talk that can launch an international movement. Now, that's not the reason to do it, but that's certainly one of the outcomes
Sure.
for so many people in this experience. You mentioned the idea that you're branching out, and I know I went to Low Mill, and you guys had a kind of a board up there, and that board was a really interesting board, and I want to kind of let people know a little something about why that board was there, and then have you respond to that. As I passed by, I said, "Oh, there's Ted," and I saw the logo and everything. I got excited and walked over and asked, "What are you guys doing?" They said, "We're just capturing ideas from the public." And I thought, wow, what a cool thing to do. It's kind of a little mini TED Talk, a mini TED expression, where people were just out there in large numbers that day at Low Mill at a children's event. And people just had a chance to come by and just write an idea on the board. How novel is that? That's a great idea. But you guys are engaging more in those kinds of activities around the community. What does that mean to you as TED Talk coordinators and also to our community?
Well, we're always trying to find new ways to interact and communicate. And it's one thing to fill out forms or send out emails or that kind of thing, but they can be very one-sided or one-dimensional. What we find is that, especially when large groups come together, either we're taking in or we're giving out, but there's really not that communication. And so the boards that we do, we call them idea walls, that we pose different questions, and they can be as simply, what's your thought of the day, or what makes you happy, or what are you passionate about? It can be any sort of question. But we try to either match it to a theme or to something of that day, relevant for the day. And we find that one person goes up, then another person goes up, and then people see that, oh, well, let me go, what are they doing? And then it's almost, we've had to do some walls where we've had dialogues, like, here's your question, and then put your answer here too. And so it becomes almost like a friendly type of competition. I'm gonna put up a question, I'm gonna put up more questions than you, but it allows people to almost have a conversation without talking to other people, because someone may have come earlier in that day and post something, then someone might get an answer later on that day. So it's a different opportunity to connect, and that's what we do. We like to connect people.
Yeah. One of the really exciting things that I think, and I mentioned that this was a youth event that I went to at Low Mill, you're really focusing a lot on young people, because that's obviously the future. And that when you're having dialogue about what's going to happen next, what ideas do people have, I think one of the smartest things for people to do is talk to young people, because they do have ideas, and many of those ideas are worth spreading as well. Why is that important for you? And tell us what you're doing as it relates to young people right now.
Well, youth are important to me. Namely, one, I have children, and I definitely see a need for us to engage and to give positive role models. It's easy to cut on the TV, and we've got all types of what we call superstars or various potential role models that may not be what we want our children to aspire to. But yet we have opportunity to engage young minds and allow them to see, hey, it's cool to do some homework. It's cool to be engaged in math and robotics and
community service.
Being involved with community service, giving back, and not just, doing it because I have to, but doing it because you want to, and really connecting into something that you want to be a part of.
Yeah.
So we have also focused on developing our TEDx youth program. We have our main event, which is in the fall, which is open it's family friendly, it's open for the whole public. But then we also do a TEDx event that is geared specifically for the youth. We bring in speakers that can speak to children, and we also have young adults and children present at our event as well. So they help coordinate and help plan out the whole day, and we really have a great time in doing that. It became such a burden to me to really put a great effort into it. We kind of sat back and we really sat down one year and just said, okay, let's take a break and let's revamp the whole program, which we did. And we almost created a separate entity just to focus on the youth program. We're partnering with some local public schools, and we're doing some small initiatives, getting some TED Ed clubs started, teaching students some TED-like skills and giving presentations. and there's some curriculum around that, so teachers enjoy that. And we're really wanting to get more of a community input in how the event turns out. So that's been, over our past events, we've gotten a great response of how can we get involved and how can I get my class involved? And so that's why we said, okay, we've got to really sit down and figure this thing out. So that's what we've done.
Okay, so we have a few minutes left in the broadcast, but I did want to take an opportunity to show our audience a little clip of what you're doing in terms of your work with young people. We're going to show a clip right now so that people can maybe get a sense of the kind of interaction that goes on in that process. And after we do that, we'll be back in just a few moments with more of Impact.
Good afternoon. My name is Anahita Maleknia, and it is my pleasure to represent the lower school. Our sister school project began with a conversation over the internet with students in Argentina.
A few weeks ago, a class of Randolph School third graders went into our Spanish classroom to conduct a Skype session with another group of third graders all the way in Argentina, which is in South America.
Boy, after watching that, I got to tell you, I am inspired more than ever before. Our young people are our future. That's where the energy is. That's where the passion is. And we have to make a regular commitment to demonstrating that they are indeed an investment.
They are, and it's our responsibility to help them understand how to be good citizens, how to be role models for their peers, how to be good parents. But who do you think the kids listen to more? Me and Everett, or one of their friends who's standing up giving a TED talk? Mm-hmm. So you find some really bright kids who have the outgoing personality, who aren't afraid to talk in front of a group. You give them a little coaching on how to present themselves, and then they get out there and share their ideas. And how awesome is that?
Yeah, and oftentimes I think adults make the mistake of, and we all have probably been guilty of this at some time in our life, we make the mistake of thinking that kids haven't necessarily thought through things enough, so they don't really have a whole lot to say. And the reality is that there are a lot of kids out there today, as there have been for many years, who have thought about things very deeply. They see things, they think about what they see, they interpret what they see, they have ideas and feelings about what they see. And oftentimes it is important for us to provide as adults sort of a structure in which they can actually maybe discover things and to explore ideas and to think about things in ways that can help develop a greater sense of maturity. But the reality is, like Chris said, young people do talk and they have ideas about stuff and they listen to one another. And it's very important to have peer affirmation, to know that peers can be among people that they can trust, that look like them, that talk like them, that act like them. And this is one of the most powerful things that we really as adults have in our arsenal, or should have in our arsenal, and we should use it as often as possible.
Yeah, and we find that, as you mentioned, given the opportunity, kids have a lot to say, and they will share, and they will talk. And it's great to see them to give input and to think outside the box. A lot of times we're like, no, okay, we can't do everything. But they really get excited when they especially have an involvement. They feel like they're contributing.
Yeah.
And so it's the whole experience that really gives me motivation to keep pressing on and to give them an opportunity, not only as speakers, but just to collaborate and to share. It's awesome to say, well, you can take this experience and do other things in the community. And really, it's not about extra credit. It's about being involved and about participating and opening your minds and giving a new opportunity to see things differently.
Organizations evolve and they grow and they restructure and they do lots of different things over time. Where do you see TEDxHuntsville going over the next, say, 5 years or so? You're already beginning some of that type of thing as you're beginning to expand and move out into the community. Where do you see this organization being as a footprint in Huntsville over the next 5 years?
Well,
You want to take that one?
yeah.
We actually had this conversation, about a year ago? About, where could we possibly go? What's our long-term goal here? And I was asking Everett from a marketer standpoint, what's your vision of TEDx? So we can figure out how to make that come true. Because if we don't enunciate that, if we don't talk about where we think we're going and establish the plans, then we'll never get there. And Everett's the leader of this group. He gives us that direction, and then we try to march. He inspires us with the great ideas. He's, as the curator, goes to lots of events. He sees lots of ways other folks are doing it right. He sees what works and doesn't work in other venues, and so he brings all that best stuff back to us so that we can use it and hopefully achieve great things in the future.
Yeah, so it's a process of, I guess, just experiencing, assessing, and then determining where you'll go from here. I know one thing is certain, TEDx is definitely going to be around for a while. And I know I expect to see you all not just in the business community, but in the academic community, in the faith community, just really having a swath across the city and the region. And TEDxHuntsville will certainly be a force to be reckoned with. Great speakers coming, great energy being produced, working with young people. It sounds like a great formula for success. As we close the broadcast today, tell people once again how they can get in touch with you.
They can find us online, either through our website, TEDxHuntsville.com, or they can visit us on Facebook, and that's at Facebook/TEDxHuntsville.
And, it would be a little bit odd if you couldn't reach TEDxHuntsville on Facebook, right?
Right.
Technology, entertainment, and design. And it's probably something that so many people can relate to in this world as it relates to just the whole idea about being in an environment where people can share ideas that are meaningful and worthwhile. Everett Alexander is the founder of TEDxHuntsville. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Chris Gattis works on marketing for TEDx and does lots of other things as well. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Our pleasure.
All right. And we thank you for being a part of our broadcast. We hope that you'll join us again for our next edition of Impact. In the meantime, I'm Kenny Anderson. Have a great day.